Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tanya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. And I'm learning today that our guest, he's learning some new things too. He's doing some new things, and I can't wait to, be able to get into that with him. But I want to let you know a little bit about Mr. Jody Fisher. He is the host of the PR podcast. The name says it all, right? The PR podcast. So I've been a guest. His voice is incredible. And then I find out he used to be in media. Oh, well, that makes sense. Now he provides sources and information for media. He teaches people how to get media and maximize those opportunities. He's been with a firm for a while. Jody has done some incredible things. When you hear his voice, you're probably either going to be thinking, I don't know, phone sex operator or someone that should be on a radio show. Not sure. I'll leave that up to you all. But he is incredibly informative. He's helpful in the industry. He's a super dad. I don't know. There isn't really much I can think of to say negative about him. And I looked. Okay, I looked. If he was on White Man Can't Jump, he probably would be able to jump. Jody is just different. He's just different than anyone that I've met in a while. He's from the East Coast, but definitely blends in with the West Coast and California vibe. So I hope you get a kick out of our next guest, because I always do. I listen to his podcast. I am always learning something new on his show, the PR podcast. So when you do get a minute, if you're not already a listener and a follower, I highly suggest that you do this, because this is the thing. Even if you're not in public relations, because we have people that watch this program that are just leaders in different industries, you can learn something that will help you get better at what you do. You will learn something that will help you level up your own organization. You will learn something that can help your organization grow, get better, and tell their story better. Listen, I'm a wine connoisseur. I love wine. He had someone on that's in PR for wine, but I learned things that weren't necessarily PR related. It's all about learning and expanding and being able to take what you are given and apply it to your life or your professional pursuits, to be able to just make it better. Like, who's okay with basic? Then if you are, you at the wrong place. Okay. And today I'm going to bring you an extraordinary individual. Without further ado, Mr. Jody Fisher, how are you?
Tanya, how are you? Thanks so much for having me on. I'm gonna hire you to do my PR. That was amazing. I'm just gonna tape it and just use that anytime I speak to a group. That was incredible. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Hey, you are
And I
pretty
feel this, and I feel the
extraordinary.
same way about you. You are an amazing individual yourself. I sometimes see all the stuff that you're doing on social, and I see you're going here and you're doing this, and you're working, and then you're at the baseball field, and then you're working out, and then you're hosting this, and I'm like, how does she have a time machine where she stops time and gets all this stuff in? So I feel the same about you. You're amazing, and I'm so glad that I know you.
I appreciate that so much. Now, I want you to tell the people a little bit about what you do now and how you got to that point, because it wasn't really a traditional route.
Sure. That's funny you say it that way, because I feel like it kind of was. But in any case, I am a public relations professional based just outside New York City on Long Island. So like you said, East Coast, but I love my West Coast. And Tanya, I think it came up in my iPhone memories. It's just about a year ago, that we were in the same place together. We met in person for the first time.
Oh, a year
Yeah,
ago.
we had breakfast there in your neighborhood. But in any case, public relations guy, I'm the way I comically describe it is, I'll get you in the newspaper or I'll keep you out, depending on what you need. I work with clients in lots of different industry areas: healthcare, higher ed, financial services, nonprofit, construction, real estate. I've been doing public relations since 1999, and we get publicity for individuals, organizations. I work mostly, like you heard, with organizations that have great stories to tell. I like telling great stories. And I do that because, and I appreciate in the intro, the nod to the voice. I don't think I have a particularly good voice, but I was a radio reporter at one point in my career. Actually, that's how I got started, was
Hey.
being a reporter running around with my microphone and my beeper and my bag phone, and I'm dating myself there. But, I was on the radio being a reporter. And when I got tired of that life, I segued into a life in public relations, and haven't looked back since.
How did you even get into reporting? What was your career looking like when you went to college? Was that what you always wanted to do, or did you realize that you were good at something and you decided to make a career of it?
I haven't told this story a lot, but I actually caught the radio bug when I was a wee Cub Scout in
Hmm.
my little tiny town growing up in New Jersey. And we went to a local radio station to take a tour of the radio station. And it was probably just some kind of outing. But I looked through the glass and I saw the news announcer. He was sitting in a dark room with like one spotlight right over him, right next to a microphone. And he was just very slowly and calmly reading the news in this authoritative kind of way. And I don't know what everybody else was feeling at the time, but I was hanging on every word. And even in that moment, I said, that's what I want to do. And as I got older, I going up through high school and all, student newspaper and, editor of the yearbook and all that stuff, anything that had to do with a journalistic kind of an approach, and chose the college that I went to based on the fact that they had a radio station that I could walk into first day as a freshman and very soon after get on the air. And so I frequently say that I did not graduate from Fordham University in the Bronx, but I graduated from WFUV, which is their 50,000 watt FM radio station. And they, to this day, have a fantastic student-based newsroom that does the news and lets the students get their hands on actually writing, editing, reporting, being on the air, building all of those skills. And so being on the air for 4 years there, I had a demo tape the day I walked out the door, and I walked into a job at one of the all news radio stations in New York City, 1010 Wins, which is now the sister station of WCBS, which is the place that I ended up at, ended my radio career at. But long story short is that I took those skills that I built in college, walked right into radio, and had a career in radio for a very long time until I decided I didn't want to do that anymore.
Well, Jody, listen, every athlete can't be an actor, even though they've tried. And every person that's been in the media can't be in PR, even though they've tried. So, why were you able to make, or how were you able to make that transition? Not everyone can do that as smoothly as you did.
Um, I'd chalk it up to luck. I actually met somebody quite by accident at an event, and I was literally sitting next to her, and she leans over. She said, "I hear you're looking," and I was. And she gave me an opportunity, and I got a job at St. John's University, which is based in New York City. And I was the director of public relations there for 6 years. But I think what she saw in me, and what people over the years have seen in me, is my ability to tap into my reporter DNA and tell stories. And what I do as a PR person now is I make sure that I keep that radio reporter hat on. And I think like the reporter, I think like the editor, I think like the person who's in the newsroom making the decision on what they want to cover. And I deliver the information that the stories that my clients want to tell through the news media in a very actionable kind of a way. And I think that's the posture that the best PR people take, is they deliver information that is actionable. It's got to be appropriate to the outlet, and there's all kinds of other things we can talk about too, but they've got to be able to take action, because reporters are getting a million pitches a day. Depending on the size of the outlet, their inbox is just rolling over with story ideas from people like me and hundreds others. So they've got to be able to look at something and literally in an instant go, yeah, that's something for me. And I'm going to do that, because they're deleting everything else.
So here's my question, and follow me here. You're not dating yourself, but I think things were done a little differently. So maybe that transition was a little more natural. We know that media has changed a lot, right? And writers and journalists, editors and publishers aren't making decisions like they once used to. So, talk to me about what you've seen change in the media in, let's say, the last 10 years in regards to how they choose their stories to publish or talk about or air. And then, how does that change how we as media professionals, public relations professionals, actually pitch those stories because they're not making the decisions the same way they did when you were once on air?
Yeah. I think the biggest change to our industry has been social media. And the newsroom decision makers that are around today, many of them, are younger people in their 20s and their 30s who grew up with social media. And so they evaluate news, like you said, in a different way. And many of them, and this is also the business model of a lot of the media outlets, will evaluate news based on how many likes it's going to get on Instagram, or how great the video is going to play on YouTube, or how many eyeballs they can drive to name your social media channel, as well as put it on their nightly newscast or on their newspaper website, or what have you. I think the only thing that social media hasn't affected that way is the print product. And we've all heard about, we've all been talking about the print product, dying a very slow death over the last 20 years. And I think that ultimately that print product is going to go away, like it or not. So I think social media has probably had the biggest impact on what news outlets choose to cover. They're still covering what's important to their audience, and really that's the lens that we look through when we talk about pitching stories. You're not just talking to the reporter that you're pitching, the editor that you're pitching, the outlet that you're pitching. You're talking to their audience. So, is it geographically based, or is it subject matter based? And I firmly believe that reporters cover stories based on those two criteria, right? Does it serve our geographic audience, or does it serve our interest audience? Are people coming to us for this information, or are they not? But to answer you, go back to your original question, social media has definitely had the most impact on what stories get covered the most.
So I think I'm in my feelings a little bit about the news and how it has changed, particularly the news, because there was a time where we actually went to the news for news. I was watching something the other day, and my husband was in the background, and he said something like, "They can't find nothing else to cover." Then it was, something completely asinine and irrelevant to real life. And that is literally what they are covering on the news for the clicks. So, in that, I have come to the conclusion that podcasts are even better than the news these days, because you can actually go to a podcast in your niche preference and get something interesting or something relevant, or learn something about said subject. I can go to your podcast and learn something new. I can leave with my chin on the floor every so often by watching your podcast. There are times when I am watching the news and not really intrigued by much of what they're talking about. I don't know how we've gotten here, but I do want your thoughts on looking at podcasts as the new news outlet based on the subject matter that they're covering.
There's a really interesting perspective there, and I agree with you. I think there's pro. I think that what we used to consider news is we all came home at the end of the day and we watched one of 3 network newscasts, right? So we're all on the same page. Today, we can search out, for good or for bad, the news that we want to hear, the news that we want to experience. And in some cases, the news that reinforces our beliefs, right or wrong. And so I think that's that's both the benefit and the danger of so much bifurcation, and maybe it's not even bifurcation, of news and information that's online. I can spend literally an hour every morning, before the sun comes up when I'm sipping my coffee, going through my email, my social media, my newspapers, my magazines, and all my aggregate news feeds, just to get a handle on what's going on that day, where the opportunities might lie, etc. And I think you can find what you want to find a lot easier, but you can also be led in a direction that is not one that is good for our society. And so I do think that podcasts are a terrific way to share news, because I think podcasts are not what they used to be, which is get 1 million listeners. There are still podcasts that have 1 million listeners, right? My podcast does not. But that doesn't matter to me, because I'm speaking to a very specific audience. I'm bringing information to a specific audience that is interested in what I'm talking about. And so in that respect, I think podcasts are a fantastic vehicle for not only talking and educating to a particular audience about a particular topic, but then also being able to take that and share that on social media to an audience that might be even larger.
Got it. Got it. Well, tell the people a little bit more about the PR podcast and why you even decided to, launch that thing.
Well, welcome to the PR garage. First of all, this is actually my real garage in suburban Long Island. I set up here kind of like maybe everybody did because of COVID 3 years ago. And if you turned this around, you'd see my whole workstation and everything. But it's become a pretty comfortable place because nobody else in my family wants to come out here. So I'm all by myself every day, which is great. And I launched the PR podcast just because I thought it would be fun. Frankly, I had dallied with a video series that was, me looking into a camera, giving tips and tricks and stuff. And it was just boring. And I said, I'm a former radio reporter. I interviewed people for a living. I still do interview people for a living with my clients, getting stories out of them. Let's interview the people I know. And so I just started it up. I called a friend. I said, you want to do a podcast? He said, yeah, sure. 120 episodes later, 2.5 years later, here we are. So the PR podcast drops every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform. We interview PR professionals. We interview newsroom decision makers, reporters, editors, photographers, videographers. We want to understand how the news gets made so we can educate people on how to do it better.
I saw you have podcast episodes, and they have a lot to do with Reddit. Now, Reddit just looks like a lot of stuff going on. It's hard to follow. So, give the people a little bit of information about how you use Reddit to get media or be a part of the conversation and what you do on your podcast.
Well, actually, I use Reddit as kind of sort of a mail-in question kind of a vehicle. Every once in a while, I will just go to the Reddit public relations thread, and I'll find some interesting questions, and I'll line them up, and then I'll just run my microphone, and I'll answer those questions or give my reaction to those questions in real time, without reading the comments, without doing any research. Kind of make it fun, at least a little fun. And try to, again, be educational with those. There are questions about how do I get started in public relations, or what media monitoring services should I use? I've answered questions about, what's the value of using a news distribution source, like a news wire or something like that. We can talk about that if you want. I don't think it's such a great idea. Lots of different questions. That's basically how I use Reddit for the show. How I use Reddit for PR is I really just think it's a great place to kind of scroll through, maybe like other social media where you can scroll through and sort of see things that are interesting. But there's a lot of great resources in there too, a lot of great links, lots of stuff you'd never think of. I actually have discovered a few different things, PR services, PR platforms, all kinds of things, resources that I can use in my job that I never would have heard of had I not just gone onto the Reddit PR thread.
Hey, Jody, I want to ask you, is it important to you to work for a company that represents your goals and your values? Talk to me about that in the company that you work for now.
Oh, 100%. I think, um, and not that you have to find your identity through the company that you work for, but you have to align with the company you work for, and you have to align with the clients that you work for. The clients that I work for are mostly institutional clients. They are organizations, and they are in, I think I mentioned them, a specific set of subject matter areas, because those are the areas where my strengths are. Those are the areas where my media contacts are. And those are the places where I feel have the most to contribute to the world that we all live in. I think it's really important. PR people get a bad rap. We're spinners, right? Um, and almost to the point where people think that we kind of lie in a way, which is the furthest thing from the truth. And my great mentor, Howard Rubenstein, who I worked for almost 10 years, one of the greatest PR assignments I've ever had in my life, was very, very strict on ethics. He had that Mark Twain quote on his desk saying, if you always tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. And it's true. You must always tell the truth. And as PR people, we must always tell the truth for multiple reasons. One, we just need to be ethical. We cannot be seen as people who will stretch the truth, lie, turn facts on their head. You cannot do that. And we saw that in the last presidential administration for 4 years. And I'm not getting into politics, but let's be honest. There are things that they threw out there as facts that were not facts. Period.
Well,
End of story.
alternative facts is what I heard.
Oh yeah, alternative facts. That was my favorite one. Yeah, great. But the other reason you need to be truthful and factual is because that reputation follows you around. And I guess pointing to that administration, we can say that too. Who's going to believe those people for the rest of their lives? Nobody. I'm not. That's for sure. Not because of anything that I believe politically, but because they were telling me that down was up and the sky was white. It's ridiculous. And so you must be ethical. You must be truthful, and you must be truthful too, because the reporters who you are pitching stories to have to be factual and truthful. So you can't tell them that black is white when they need to fact check that. So if they're going to be truthful, you've got to be truthful, and there is no downside to being ethical and truthful. In fact, it's the most important thing that you can do, I think, in your profession, whether you're a PR person or anybody else.
And the company that you are currently with, does that organization represent you well? Does it represent your
Well,
values?
it's interesting you mentioned that, because breaking news, Tanya, I have just this month gone independent, launched my own public relations agency. I'm still getting used to saying it out loud. Jody Fisher PR. It sounds funny, right? It's
I
like you
love
put your own name on, the company, but that's what people know, and that's what people in my network know me for. So I have my own company now, Jody Fisher PR. Yes, we're signing clients, so if you're interested, ring me up. But in a terrific partnership, the agency that I was with has hired my company now to service their PR clients as well. So I'm
Mm.
continuing to work with the clients that I've been working with for the last 6 years, which is great, and I'm grateful for that. While I also am able to build my own independent business. So
What
we're
was it
off and
about?
running with Jody Fisher PR.
What was it about that independence, that level of independence that you feel like you needed as a PR professional, as a seasoned PR professional? Because I'm guessing you don't suggest that people that are young in the industry do the same thing, right?
No, I think that people who are young in the industry need to learn from the right mentors. When I got out of college, as much as, experience that I had behind the microphone that I had, I was still a 22-year-old kid. And I went to work in a New York City newsroom and learned from the best people in the business who taught me the right way to do radio. And I think that is invaluable. And when I got into public relations, I had some terrific mentors, including Howard, who taught me the right way to do things. they can also help to expand your network. They can also reveal you to terrific opportunities, business opportunities, but more importantly, I think learning opportunities. And the greatest mentors will allow you to fall a little bit and then help you get back up. And I'll never forget some of those experiences as well, because they're so important. You've got to surround yourself with good people. You've got to surround yourself with the right people who will help you along, have your back, and help you learn as much as you possibly can. And look, like I said, I've been at this PR thing for, what seems like a lifetime, at least half my life. And I'm going to be in this business for another couple of decades. So I'm always learning.
Well, let me be the first to congratulate you. Well, maybe in our circle. Congratulations on starting your own firm. I would love to, at some point, partner with you and do something very cool, because I know how much fun it is to work with you, be on your podcast and all these cool things. But congratulations. I know that's a big deal. And, I'm wishing you well. You have an incredible amount of respect in the industry, and I'm sure that it's going to show in everything that Jody Fisher PR produces. So thank you for sharing that here, and, best of luck. I'm not really worried about it because you're pretty awesome at everything you do. So yeah, guys, that list of subject matters that he rattled off, if you need some help, he is the doctor. Okay. He will work on it for you, and he will make sure that you and your brand and your message, your stories are ready to be told to the larger audience. So again, Jody, thank you so much. Hey, when you're not doing PR and you're not on the podcast, what are you doing? What are you doing?
You said it best. I'm running around being a dad. I have 2 young kids, 13 and 10. Baseball season is coming here on Long Island, and so we're getting ready for that. The daughter plays baseball. The son is a guitar virtuoso and computer nerd, so I've got a little bit of both of me, a little bit of me in both of them. But we're just running around, having fun, doing our thing. We are very much looking forward to warm weather here in the Northeast. I know, Tanya, California, you kind of got it all the time. I know you had your weather troubles recently, but I'm jealous of that California weather.
Jody, the weather here has been so bipolar. I'm thinking Mother Nature needs some medication. Okay. I'm talking about hail and snow in Manhattan Beach. The roads are falling apart. My husband made a comment the other day. He said, why is California the only place when it rains, potholes just start popping up everywhere? Like, it's just a mess. So I am looking forward to some warmer weather too. Hopefully it comes sooner than later, because yes, it is baseball season. So I want to ask you, when we talked about values and, components of your business that are important, and elements of your job that you try to display when you're doing your work, all these cool things, I want you to tell me about some of the things you never want to be associated with. When I do a lot of brand work with my clients, I want them, because we all want people to say great things about us. Oh my God, she's amazing. But tell me about some of the things. Give me 3 words that you would never want associated with you or your work.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I am big on kindness. In fact, I just posted something on Instagram this morning. It costs nothing to be kind. And I think kindness will follow you around wherever you go. You're always going to run into somebody, but I think kindness is the cheapest and easiest way to build a great life. And I try to be kind to as many people as I possibly can. I talked about it before. I think another word I'd never want to be associated with is unethical. It's very easy to say that you're ethical when you don't have challenges, but we run into challenges. A lot of times we run into challenges, and I think it's important to be ethical in everything that we do and to be honest in everything that we do. And I think the last word that I'd never want to be associated with is indifferent. I'm passionate. I run at 11 a lot. I have the volume turned up almost all the time, and sometimes to my detriment. But I think a life of indifference is probably a pretty boring and awful life.
We talk about this in our PR group often in regards to being indifferent. That could actually get you in some trouble in this industry. Yeah. Talk to
Oh,
us about
sure.
that.
Yeah, I mean, and I define indifferent as like, I don't care, whatever. I have no opinion. You have opinions. And that's what makes life fun, And I'm not saying opinions like we all need to agree. We don't need to agree. It's okay to disagree. Um, that's what makes life interesting. And that's frankly how you learn some things too, because, if somebody points something out you didn't think of, and then you think about it and you go, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I can consider that. And maybe even changes your mind. And I think change is a sign of growth. So change and growth is terrific too. Indifference is, like I said, indifference is just boring. It's like vanilla. It's like, oh, really? Put some sprinkles on that thing.
Yeah, but Jody, I like vanilla. Vanilla is good. You can do so many things
Oh,
with vanilla.
I'm not knocking vanilla. Actually, I'm not knocking vanilla, because you know what? You can put lots of things on it and make it taste just the way you want it to taste, which is cool.
So I'm going to do, I know you have your, quick questions on your PR podcast, and I have a couple for you. I just want to run by and just kind of get your thoughts so people get to know who Jody is a little more. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Oh, wow, great one. I'm gonna lean Christmas only because I have little kids.
Mm.
One is in the club, one is still not in the club, and just seeing that reaction is still fun. She probably knows, but you know what I mean. It's still
It's
fun.
interesting that you say that because you are so gracious and thankful and joyous that, that's pretty much what Thanksgiving is all about. But I could see you going either way.
It's
I
that
like that.
surprise element, and I love seeing people surprised and happy and excited. And Thanksgiving is wonderful to be with family for a limited amount of time, but 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 in all seriousness, that spark that you get on that Christmas morning, that's my jam.
I love it. TV or radio?
Radio. I love TV. I love my TV reporter friends and all, but radio is what is it? The theater of the mind. You have to be a
Mm.
great writer to be a radio reporter. Radio reporters tell stories in 30 to 35 seconds. It's usually one or two sentences. That's hard to do. Love radio.
My first radio
Plus, it's
broadcast.
anywhere you can be.
It is my first one. I was talking so fast though, I almost lost my tongue. I was like, "Oh my god, let me get this out really quick." But it's great. Podcast or radio?
Ooh, that's a good one. See, I should say podcast, right? Because I'm a podcast host. I still like my radio. My challenge is that I don't use my radio in the car anymore, and I'm actually streaming through my phone a radio station, or I'm listening to podcasts. So I guess I'm going to say, in reality, I listen to more podcasts than I do radio, but my heart is still in radio.
Gotcha. Hall and Oaks or Wham?
Hall and Oates. Come on, I got the Philadelphia thing. They got the soul. Oh, come on.
Okay,
Come on. R&B influences and the Motown influence. Come on, you got to be Hall and Oates.
I mean, I'm R&B all the way, but I'm an 80s baby, so pop culture is knee deep in me. So yeah, Janet Jackson
You make
or
my
Whitney?
dreams come true, baby. Come on.
Oh my god. Janet Jackson or Whitney?
Ooh. I like Janet. Yeah, a little edgier.
She is. Michael
I
or
like the
Prince?
edge.
Michael or Prince?
What was the first one?
Michael Jackson or Prince?
Oh, Prince. Oh, come on. Nothing against Michael, but come on.
The forever debate. Last one.
No, that's no debate. Come on now. You know that. There's no debate on that.
Listen, don't put me on the spot. It's not for me. It's not for me.
That
It's for you.
halftime special, that still is my favorite halftime special of all time. And I know that's the least of what he ever did with his life, but I mean, come on.
Really? Has it
Amazing.
always been? Okay, so what happened before the halftime special? Was it always Prince? I'm just
Oh yeah.
asking.
Oh yeah. Sure. Oh, absolutely. Come on. I'm a 70s 80s baby too. That was the radio when I was growing up, was all Prince. Actually, it wasn't enough Prince looking back.
I love
It
it.
was like white people's Prince. It wasn't like Prince. You know what I mean? Different.
Debbie said Lizzo. What
You
are
got to
we
dip
talking
into the
about right
catalog to get the good stuff.
now? Yeah, yeah. I love it. Last one, baseball, basketball, or football?
Baseball.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
only because the kids play, or you've always
No,
loved
no. You know what? You know what I tell people? Baseball is the greatest game in the world. You know why? Because it's the only game in the world where the defense has the ball.
it? Mm.
Um, I also love the fact that, well, up until this season, we didn't have a game clock. We still don't have a game clock. We got a pitch clock now, which I'm still not on board with. But there's just something, I don't know, meditative, pastoral, just enjoyable to sit and watch a baseball game and to watch sort of like when you've got really great athletes who are playing, and like it's a no hitter, or it's somebody, or is watching Aaron Judge last year. I don't care what team you rooted for. You watched Aaron Judge, right? You wanted to see him hit that home run, right? Because that's what baseball's all about. It's just baseball, man. Baseball all the way.
I can sit for a 12-inning stretch with some sunflower seeds and a Slurpee and be as happy as I was at Disneyland. Like that is my Disneyland. It's crazy.
I couldn't agree more.
It's
We already
crazy.
have our Yankee Stadium tickets. We already got two games we're going to already this year. I don't think I've been to more than 5 in the last 15 years.
Well, I don't know
I'm
what
just
my
in.
Giants are looking like this year, but my nephew is playing for the Angels, so we'll be fine.
All right.
I know.
We can root. We can
Yeah, we
root. Yeah.
absolutely. So listen, let the people know how to stay in touch with you, get in touch with you, stay in touch with you, get some podcast info from you, and make sure that they continue to watch this journey, because I'm thinking that Jody Fisher PR is going to be making a splash in the industry, and your clients are going to be making a splash with some headlines. And I just want those that are listening to be able to benefit from that. So give them all the good stuff, Jody.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's start with the podcast, right? Because that's why we're here. And we're here in the PR podcast studio in the PR garage. Like I said, the PR podcast it comes out weekly on Mondays. Your favorite podcast platform, just search for it. We're also on social media at the PR podcast, so look us up there as well. If you want to get in touch with me directly, for anything, email is jody@jodyfisherpr.com. We got the website set up as well at jodyfisherpr.com. And if you've got a story to tell and you want to tell it through the news media, and you think that I can give you a hand, I would love to have a conversation with you. And I'm a firm believer too in, even if I can't help you, I want to refer you to somebody who can, because I really think that everybody has got a story to tell. They just have to figure out how to tell it. And as PR pros, that's what we do. We help connect those great stories with the reporters who can tell them.
Awesome. Jody, thank you for being here. I absolutely look forward to watching all the joys that you're going to bring to the rest of us through your podcast, through the stories that you help tell, finding the right angle to trigger something in us. You are so good at this work. I'm so excited for you. And hell, I'm excited for us because we had you. So now we can say we had Jody. Oh my God. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you so
here.
much, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. This has been wonderful. And thank you to you for doing all the great work that you do. I take inspiration from you, watching what you do. And I'm like, I've got to be more like Tanya.
You better cut it out. You guys, thank you for being
Serious.
here, and we'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for showing up to the podcast where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. When you get a sec, take a moment, leave a comment. What do you think about today's episode? And share it with someone that you know could use the gems that were dropped today. Follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss who's coming up next. You never know who could show up here and what they could say. For your professional needs, marketing, PR, communications, and leadership, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Sand and Shores, or hit us up at sandandshores.com. Again, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.